Coach, what differences have been applied to this early season tournament as opposed to the ones that you've played in the past during your A&M tenure?
Yeah, we've tried to change a little bit of what we've done prior to departure in regards to the preparation with our staff, also with our team, which has changed the itinerary. I don't know that it will work. Last year we played on a Friday before we played in Myrtle Beach, and obviously this year we played on a Friday before playing on Thursday in Orlando. So we've changed what we do on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Can't really change Wednesday because that's required in order to play in the team event. So just tried to change the itinerary a little bit, and in hopes that we'll have a better start than we did last year.
What is different about this team and perhaps this trip and this tournament than years past?
Well, year one, when we went to Orlando, I think we were still trying to figure out who we were and what we were trying to do. Not anything against those kids. Every day was a new day for them in regards to what we were trying to accomplish and what we wanted to be about. Obviously, in year two, we were supposed to go to Maui, which turned to South Dakota, which turned to nowhere. Year three, I apologize. Year two was Bahamas that turned to South Dakota that turned to nowhere. Year three was Maui that turned to Vegas because of COVID. We did okay there. We went 2-1. We were playing really well against Wisconsin for a stretch, but played good against Butler, played good against Notre Dame. I think last year we were very immature in handling being ranked. And also I think a lot of it was foolishness and immaturity on my part in what we did prior to leaving for Myrtle Beach relative to the itinerary. So hopefully the experiences all of us have had since we've been here, however long that's been, hopefully it'll translate to a better result in Orlando.
And then, obviously, given the opponent you face Thursday and how your season ended last year, how much has the conversation revolved around revenge, and how much have you allowed the team to focus on something like that?
Somebody may have mentioned a fragment of a sentence on that. Only 5% of their minutes played thus far this year are played by anybody that was on the team last year. So brand new coach, brand new team, completely different style of play. Coach brought with him some players from VCU who are really, really good. Atlantic 10 Player of the Year, Atlantic 10 Defensive Player of the Year. I think they have 3 fifth-year COVID seniors that are playing a lot of minutes. So the name is the same, but the style of play, the coaching staff, and the team is dramatically different.
How much does the Bahamas trip earlier this year help at all in terms of?
I didn't hear what you said. I apologize.
How much did the Bahamas trip this summer or I guess beginning of fall for you guys help in terms of planning how to maximize the trip and the bonding aspect with handling your business on the court?
Yeah, I think that there's value in that. Obviously, it's an expensive decision, and only places like Texas A&M can afford to do that. I've never done it anywhere I've been. I've been somewhat against it, to be honest, because it changes what you do in the summer. It changes the amount of time guys are able to be off. Guys are able to be with their family, not just the players, but also the adults. So it's a big decision financially, but it's a big decision relative to time. I do think the timing of this was good for this group. It was Jace was able to get ahead. Eli was able to get ahead. Bip couldn't participate, but he was able to watch. Wildens was still in school. We were able to tweak some of the things that we do on both sides of the ball earlier than ever before. And I also think it probably helped that we played 2 Power 5 teams in the month of October. I think it also helps that we've played 50% of our games on the road. So I think it's a combination of all of it. It's hard for me, to be honest, to whether it's correlation or causation, whichever word you want to use. Is it the Bahamas and the prep that went into the Bahamas? Is it the 2 Power 5 scrimmages, exhibitions? Is it the 2 road games? I think it's probably the combination of all of that. And I hope the important thing is, regardless of which category, we need all 3 categories to show up in the 3 games in Orlando, because there'll be multiple teams that are there that haven't played on the road or that haven't played a neutral site game. And so hopefully some of those experiences come to life while we're in Orlando.
Coach, you talk about routine quite a bit, and obviously 3 games in 4 days is a lot different from the norm. So how do you get the guys prepared for something like that?
Yeah, I'm not very good at it, just to be very transparent. I'm very much routine oriented. I think our program is that way. And stereotypically speaking, I think the continuity of that with the people and the routine helps us have a competitive advantage in many ways. But in a tournament setting, as you mentioned, 3 games in 4 days, some of that lack of success is for sure a reflection of me and the inability to prepare them at the level that they need to be prepared, which is why we've changed some of what we're doing going into Orlando. That's knocked me out of my rhythm on purpose, and I was very upfront with our team on why we're doing it. And just to be even more to that, I forced our team to do the same thing prior to Oral Roberts, even though it wasn't a road game. We changed our schedule last week to make it more like what this week would be, so that we would have a rep. We call it cheetah rep. And then we've done that since the game ended on Friday. So today is 2 days before. You've probably heard somebody say that since you've been here. Tomorrow is 1 day before. Thursday, obviously, is game day. So the things that we do on 2 days never change. What we do in the film room, what we do in the weight room, what we do on the court. 1 day has a little different feel, but it's the same. What are we going to do in the film room? What are we going to do in the weight room? What are we going to do on the court? And then game day is the same. The good thing about Thursday, we play the first game. So all of the things that lead up to the noon tip, East Coast time, we'll do the exact same way. When we have shoot around, when we have chapel, when we eat, when we warm up, who warms up, what they do in warm up. As soon as the game is over on Thursday, the staff will watch the Florida Atlantic Butler game. And then after Thanksgiving meal, Thursday evening, we will have what we call 1 day before. It is 1 day before, but we've skipped 2 days before. So it'll be our first real rep, even though we've tried to cheat a couple of reps. After we play on Friday, Friday night will be 2 days before. Saturday will be 1 day before, leading in until Sunday. So I hope that some of the changes we've made help me. I hope that some of the changes we've made in the last 6 or 8 days help our guys. But I hope that it helps both groups be better on Friday and Sunday.
Then with less to kind of go off of with this Penn State team, being that there's so many new guys, a new head coach, what have you found during watching film in what little that you can?
It's just different. We've watched a lot of tape from VCU. I think there's a coach has been a head coach for a long time. I think he was the coach at Randolph-Macon for 10 years prior to going to VCU with Coach Shaka as an assistant. Obviously, he was the head coach at Rice, been the head coach at VCU. He's been a head coach for a long time. And I think he has a very distinct style of play. I think some of those players that went with him from VCU to Penn State are probably expediting their acceleration of what they want to do. We haven't played a team like this. Their defense, for sure, is a big component. They brand it as Havoc, and they're number 2 in the country in turnovers forced. Their defense is ranked 38th in the country, a large part because they turn you over. They're forcing teams into 22 turnovers, and they're averaging 22 points on those 22 turnovers. So we've tried to prepare as best we can for that style, even though it's for sure different than how we play. Offensively, they play really fast. 50% of their shots have happened in transition. So we have some practice of that versus Oral Roberts and versus SMU. But a lot of their quickness in offense is a byproduct of how they play defensively. So they have some really good players. Number one, as I mentioned, was A-10 Player of the Year, really good. Number 22, we recruited him when we were at Virginia Tech. He went to Georgetown out of high school to play for Patrick Ewing. Then he played at Maryland with Coach Turgeon, and now he's at Penn State. So they have some experience and talent together. Number 24 is a transfer from Temple who's really good in what they do defensively and offensively. They've played 4 home games, and then they played their charity exhibition was against Robert Morris. So we've studied those, and we've studied VCU, but it is completely different with different players than how not Notre Dame. The coach at Notre Dame, who was at Penn State, they're both very good coaches, but coach in a different style.
When we were talking to Manny and Jace, they were talking about just maybe the lack of success in November tournaments for them as players and also for coaching. How much do you think about that, especially because it's before conference play, and just kind of your goals going into this tournament?
Yeah, I like it. I think it is good preparation for the conference tournament, and hopefully there's a tournament after that. I think we're 5-2 in the SEC tournament the last 2 years, and in the last 2 years, I think we're 3-3 in November tournaments. Obviously, year one we were 0-3. So since we've been here, we're 3-6 in November tournaments. Similar to kind of all of everything that we're talking about. I think all of these reps are our first reps, just like they are every other team's at this time of the year. But I think as a player, even as a coach, to be honest, like you like watching games during the middle of the day, like hoop people are today, like they were yesterday. And, now they're even feast week actually starts a week before Thanksgiving because they're TV related tournaments. And so I think all of the things that go into it, there's a lot to learn from it. And I also think because it's 3 games in 4 days, stereotypically speaking, against 3 different styles of play, you learn a lot about your team. And so there's a lot of benefits that come from it.
Coach Henry, SEC Player of the Week, just what have you seen from him? I mean, I know he's been doing it, but I guess to go even from the opening game, now to field goal attempts, and kind of seems like he just buys into his role, goes out there and performs.
He just is playing with the incredibly mature as he's been in his career from a competitive maturity standpoint. He's not paying much attention to the opponent, not paying much attention to the officials, not paying much attention to the crowd. I think he's completely locked in on how he can help our team. I think he's very aware of what he can do physically, with his voice, mentally, emotionally to help our team. He hasn't had 3 consecutive games at any point in his career at the level that he has. He's been so good. And I don't think that we've necessarily played great in any game, but I think we've done a lot of good things that have contributed to winning. But we have for sure counted on Henry's production in those games, and you could argue without his production, we're probably not in the position that we're in. So hopefully he can keep that going because he's playing at a really high level of efficiency and production.
Just real quick on Kenny Chesney's Sirius XM radio show, like who's on the playlist? What artists you got coming out there?
Yeah, it was a hard decision. I think they've already played it a couple of times. When Kenny asked me to do it, we're friends, and so he's just passing it off to the guy that does all the real work. And so when John called me, I passed it off to my staff who does all the real work. And then they told me that I could pick 16 songs, and 4 of them had to be Kenny's. And so, you know, like, I love music, and so I was like, well, that won't be hard. And you can pick from any genre, you can do anything, you can introduce the song however you want, et cetera, et cetera. Filtering out which songs to play was a lot more difficult than I anticipated. And because he's my friend, and because I'll never do it again, and I knew it was a once-in-a-lifetime deal, I wanted to do good. So, yeah, I wanted to say the right words. I was a little too wordy, as you guys know. And the microphone they have is like 1 million times better than the ones that are in this room. So, you know, it picks up like literally everything. But figuring out which songs to play were a little more difficult than I thought, but it was fun. I've gotten like, I don't know, 400 texts since it started playing yesterday. People are taking pictures, you know, in their car of the screen, you know. It's kind of cool.
All right, we gotta catch the bus.
Thank you, guys.